Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Thanks for joining, Tanya.
Hi. Oh, you got me and Flynn today.
Oh, it's cute.
Over the house.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining me again. I wanted to do a follow-up on, and I'm not doing a long series, I'm just going to do 4 of people that I talked to earlier in the year and then see what's transpired for them in 2020. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining again and sharing your stories with us.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for following up with me. I had fun with you last time.
Yeah, it was fun. I know I talked to you a little bit about my sons just because we used to watch the show all the time when they were growing up. And one of them, the younger one, the 18-year-old, he just started college about a month ago.
Wow.
And I said, do you want to do a follow-up about what you've learned? So I'm going to have a nice little, a diverse set of responses.
Right.
People of all ages. So it's going to be interesting to see what everyone has to say about this. But
I think that's great. And it's good to know. You're right. Everybody's experiencing different things. And I feel really, really lucky,
yes.
in the way things have unfolded. So
yeah, let's hear about it. So you obviously you were traveling a lot before all this happened, right? To go to the projects and assignments and your clients and stuff. So what's been the toughest thing for you to experience this year with all of that? Have you been able to do any of that stuff still?
Yeah, it's just kicking back in now, but it was definitely the weirdest thing for me. And at first it was super like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then at the same time, I was kind of like, I kind of love this. I know there was a lot going on in the world and all of that. If I were to compartmentalize and just focus on like being home, it was really nice to not feel guilty, to not feel like I wasn't being productive. Like it was almost like I was being forced to stop. And I think it took something like as ridiculous as a pandemic to make me say, okay, catch your breath. It's okay, and believe me, I did not take it for granted. Like I really relished in every single minute that I got to be home. So it was nice.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because you probably wouldn't have slowed down. It's like, it's hard to say no to things, and it's hard to slow down when it's what you love doing, right? You would have been like, oh, just keep going because I love it. And what's the big deal? It's like, no. You never would have had the opportunity to say like, oh, what do I want to concentrate on? Or what does my body need? Or, whatever it is.
Like you nailed it. That's exactly what it is. And I think the biggest thing for me, like I don't have guilt. I know a lot of my no, I didn't mean guilt. I don't have the mom guilt that my mom friends tell me about.
Yeah.
I just have guilt and because I don't have kids. So I don't have that. Yeah. I just felt like, and in fact, sometimes I think that I would justify working all these crazier hours because I don't have kids. So I would be like, I don't have any, like, not
yeah.
No, my mom friends work way harder than I do, but I literally just felt like I have to keep going. I can't stop. I've got to like fill that void somehow, and I would fill it with work. So I think the one thing that came out of COVID for me was being able to stop and catch my breath and say, it's all right, because the world actually did shut down and I'm still doing what I do and things didn't shut down in my life personally.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense,
No, it does. I like that you mentioned that about your moms because although I am a mom, I always thought it's not fair to expect people that don't have kids to do more or be around more or work more. I never thought that was fair. People would say, oh, I don't have any kids. I'm going to stay late at the office. I'm like, why is your life any less important than mine? Because I'm going home to nurture these kids or help them or support them or whatever it was. You should be enjoying your life just like I would be. I chose to have kids. You didn't. Why should you need to work harder and put more hours in and do something more for the company because someone because you don't have them. I never thought that was fair.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But equally, I mean, at the same time, it's like when you would go home from work, you had another full-time job awaiting at home. So, I mean, there are days where I feel guilty because I'm sitting and watching a TV show, or I feel guilty if I'm able to take a nap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I again, it's one of those things I don't take for granted. I know because so many of my friends have young children all the way from babies to teenagers, and I just see how exhausting and how much work it is, how rewarding it is, but how much work it is. So yeah.
Don't I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Those sensitive subjects, right?
No, now that I can do those things you're mentioning, because our son just went off to college, I feel the same way. But my husband's not saying, I feel guilty about resting for a little bit. I think I'm going to watch a show. I'm going to feel guilty about it, which is us.
Why is that?
I don't know. And he even says to me, who's telling you should? Who's saying this to you? I'm not saying this to you. There's no parent saying this to you. Where is this coming from? I'm like, oh, just growing up, Catholic guilt and all that other stuff. And being a woman.
Where is it? You're right. Where does it come from? But I don't know. It's like, if there's not 37 balls in the air being juggled, then I don't know. Then it doesn't seem like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Oh, and even this same thing with us. Like I started my business. I quit my job in June 1st, and I'm just doing my business full time. And even my husband's like, I'm writing a book. It's coming out in a couple months. I'm really
Congratulations!
Thank you. I'm over the moon about it. I started writing it a year ago, but my husband's like, just write and just figure it out. And like he's telling me, like, keep slowing down, stay slowed down, do what you need to do for your business and write it so you can have what you want. I'm like, oh, and it's strange because I'd be used to working full time and having 2 kids at home, and running around and all this stuff, and having the extra time and space. Even if it wasn't the coronavirus, I would still have this extra time and space, and I wouldn't know what to do with myself. And we have to get used to it. And I think this is a big lesson for this year, is like, we all need to get used to it. Men are probably like crawling out of their skin because they have to be home around the kids with the parent, with the mom raising and doing all that other stuff. They're probably like, what the hell? It was easier to go to work every day, you know? They probably.
My husband who's right there. Yeah. He would run out of He would run out of the house. Like, this is early stages of shutdown, right? He'd run out. He's like, I gotta go. I have to go to the restaurant, which is down the street. I'm like, well, we're not open. What do you have to do there? Yeah. He would literally take his laptop and open it up and sit at the bar by himself. It was closed, no one in there, and he would just do his work. It was it was good because at least he got out of the house. It kept some semblance of routine for him. Right. For me, my business, we went all online, and it was Zoom all day, every day. Mm-hmm. And then, but luckily the work didn't slow down. So
good.
Sorry. Yeah, the work didn't slow down, so that was good. The TV life slowed down, but the business design firm did not, which is surprising because we design predominantly restaurants, so we were lucky.
Good. That is good. That is lucky. One of the nicest surprises has been slowing down, right? You're saying. Mm-hmm. What's been the biggest? All right, what's been the toughest thing for you? So, not being able to travel, or being home more, not being as busy.
Honestly, the toughest thing for me is not being able to hug my parents. Other than that, I would say I haven't had moments where it's been so tough. Like, I figured out a way to work out at home. Listen, I'm going to be super shallow right now and say, like, not getting my eyelashes done and not getting my nails done was great. Like, I actually, all the money I saved too. I was like doing my nails myself, all this stuff. I mean, that's silly. I'm like, obviously I kid, but the hardest thing for me was just really, I would drop groceries off for my parents and we'd wave from afar, and it crushed me. I'm like so close to them, and I'm lucky that they live pretty close, but they're older, and I just want to hang with them. That was, if anything, the hardest thing. But other than that.
I'm when I see my friends, even now, we meet outside for lunch or wherever we're, having drinks outside. I'm like, yes, I'm a big hugger, and I'm a big touch, and feel. And and some of them will say, just give me a hug anyways. Who cares? We have mess, whatever it is. But some people are just like, hey, like,
hey, elbows,
not good. I don't like it. That's been the hardest thing for me too, is not being able to embrace people.
Yes, I know. And we just got back from filming Restaurant Impossible. We did a few episodes, and we were on the road on a tour bus, and we were being tested every few days. So by the end of that trip, it was like, oh, I just got to hug everyone and say goodbye to them. And I was like, it was so weird and amazing to just hug it out, and felt safe because we had now at this point been tested like 4 or 5 times, and we were in our own little bubble, so to speak. So that was nice.
Yeah, like that's something I'm never going to take for granted again. I don't think I was taking it for granted before, but I'm definitely like, whenever I can do it. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to everyone being comfortable doing it, but whenever I can, I'm going to be hugging people.
Yeah, all over the place. They'll be like, Julie, you can get off of me now.
I know. We went to visit our son, and he's in Wisconsin, which is up and down with the whole numbers and stuff, but he's on a college campus. There's only like under 3,000 people, so it's not huge. But he's around kids that are getting sick and being irresponsible, whatever. He's like, Mom, so like we kind of hugged, like, but he's just doesn't want us to get sick. He's worried about us, and he's like, Mom, I don't know what I've been exposed to, and I'm like, oh no, I missed that.
I know. Wait, so tell me what your book is about.
So it's called Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective, and it is it's discovering 8 ways to manifest more peace and contentment and happiness in your everyday life and career.
Oh, that's so nice.
No, I'm so.
You want to give a little sneak peek? What are some of the 8 ways?
So connection's one of them. Yeah. Connection, gratitude, joy, mindfulness. So each chapter is one of those topics about how you can incorporate more of this into your everyday lives. It's been so fun to write, and I hired a publisher,
awesome.
and I hired him last week, and he's like, we're going to get it published, Julia, in January 2020.
Yes, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. You want to hear something so crazy? So crazy. So I just did an Instagram post like 2, 3 days ago, and I wrote, this is what it looks like, right? So it's me, and it says, a little formula for happiness. Tell me if this is in some of your chapters. Number 1, be a good person. Number 2, work hard. Number 3, give what you can when you can. Number 4, love yourself. Number 5, don't be a meanie. Number 6, give yourself a break. Number 7, listen. Number 8, share your knowledge. Number 9, say something nice for no reason. And number 10, have gratitude, and repeat.
That's so cute.
I live by that kind of mentality, that way of thinking.
Yes, there's a lot of that in there. Another chapter is on resilience, another one's on curiosity. But it's all of the tools that helped me in my career and in my life and in my marriage and my parenting and all of that. So it's been awesome. I just had a book design contest a couple of weeks ago, picked a book design.
Fun.
Yeah,
nice.
So it's just awesome to see it coming to life, and also having this time to do that over the summer. I wouldn't have probably had as much time to write and everything if we weren't like pulled up at home. So that's definitely something I've been grateful for.
So that was one of your positives for being
cooped
up in the house. Yeah,
for sure.
What a great way to use your time. That's awesome.
I also committed to doing it when I turned 50, which I just turned 51 in September, but I wanted to do it in 2020. I wanted to have it done now. It's almost done. It's just not out yet. But my publisher's
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, you don't realize how few people actually finish a book.
Right. I've been talking about it for 15 years now.
Have you?
Yes. I've done outlines. I've written a chapter here and there, and then I'm
it's an undertaking. I would so recommend doing it. I know you have you have a busy life, but it's just, it's something that's just been always on my mind to put out into the world. And now that I'm doing it, seeing it come to fruition, like seeing the book title and design, seeing all of that, like it's starting to feel real. And then it's like, oh, you can like commit to it and do it. You just got to put the time in. And I didn't realize how few people in the world are actually book authors. So it's
that's true, right? It's a nice badge of honor to have.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something? And it might be too personal, and you don't have to answer it. But was there something in your life, and you don't have to say what it was, but did something happen in your life that made you say, I'm going to start, you said it was to help your life and your marriage and your family and being a mom and all this stuff. So your point in time.
Yes. Yeah. I am writing this book because I did not have this when I was growing up. I didn't have the guidance. I didn't have someone saying, I had parents, but there's 11 kids in my family. They were not like
11. Oh my gosh.
They were never saying like, they were just like, I'm number 7 from the top. Wow. So there's 4 younger than me. Yeah. There's 8 girls and 3 boys. Wow. I know. And we always had, like, we had what we needed. We were lower middle class probably. But it was like barely like, here are your shoes, here's your food, here's your shelter, figure it all out, figure the rest out. I was really close to my dad. And he was a great person. They did their best. But there was no, oh, let me help you with these life lessons. And let me see how we can,
right.
You want to go to school? Here's a pack of papers, fill them out. Good luck. Like, it was just, there was no.
I mean, when you have 11 kids, you get like, you only have so much time.
That's what my husband said. He's like, how could they have done any of that for any of you? So
I know.
I always wish that I had these, fairy godmothers guiding me and teaching me lessons. So I figured out all the lessons on my own as I could figure them out. I read a lot. I researched a lot. I asked a lot of questions. And I'm like, I'm going to write the book to talk to that one girl who's 25 or 35 and going, what's all this meant to be? And why, how can I do that? All of that. So that's why I'm doing it, because I wish I had it when I was younger.
Yeah, good. I'm very excited to see it. I can't wait till it comes out.
Thank you. I'm excited too. Yeah. So anyways, that's what I've been working on. What's been the easiest thing for you to do that you didn't expect in 2020 coming out?
It was actually easier than I thought to take a break. You know what I mean? To stop. It was easier than I thought. One of the things that I found really rewarding that I didn't even realize I had in me was I really embraced cooking. So, I love to cook, but I never had the time. And I always used to joke around and say the one thing, this is with like pre-COVID life of always running around, I'd always say the one thing I want to be able to do is to buy groceries and actually eat them, right? Like I just never got to, I'd buy groceries. I'd end up throwing everything away because I would never get around to making anything. And so I got into a routine. I got into a system. I was buying groceries. I was cooking, whipping up meals. And my husband is a restaurateur, so he's pretty particular. Yeah. And so, for him, he was like, wow, these are good. And to me, that was like the highest compliment because he is such a critic, with food. And also because we're married, he's not afraid to tell me if it was just awful, which he did on several occasions. But I really embraced it and I loved it. Like I enjoyed getting to know herbs and getting to know just, I don't know, marinating things and how to cook meats and how to, do all that. Baking is that's the one thing I can't do it. No. I have a very short attention span. I can't focus on a baking ingredient list.
See, it's funny. I'm the opposite. I don't want my husband's I'm basically a chef as well. And that cooking stuff, not for me. It's intimidating to not follow the recipe and add a spice here or there if it's not in the recipe. I'm like, but it's not in there. How do you know it's going to be good? He's like, how do you know? Baking to me is like, it's a perfect science. I can put these in and then these cookies come out and they're going to be good. So I'm the opposite. It's funny.
When I try to follow the perfect science, it never comes out right, but I can mix and match and throw spices in and add things in all day long. And
it's still good. That's the key.
Oh, yeah. And one of my friends, he's always like, why can't you just follow the recipe? You always have to add this spice and that thing and whatever. Like I've always been like that, but I really got to embrace it over this time.
That's your creative side. That's your
maybe. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or working with Robert Irvine. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you guys are able to start doing this show again. It's been, it's been cool to see some of the follow-ups and him going back to some of the restaurants, but it's nice. It's nice that they figured out everyone. I don't know if you follow Marie Forleo at all, but she has a book called Everything is Figure Outable.
Oh.
And I read it. It just came out.
A good one.
Yeah, it's really good. It just came out a year ago in September, but she's basically talking about like almost every single thing you want to figure out in your life is figure outable in the world and in life and in school and work, anything. Almost everything. And if it's not, it's because it's, it's impossible only because it's something about like science or a fact. It's not. Your mind can, if you have a mind and you are, want to think outside the box, you can figure out almost anything. But I loved seeing that you guys seemed to embrace it pretty quick. Like, I don't know how many months went by where they couldn't do anything, but all of a sudden it was like, oh, we can come out here in a truck instead. And we can can scale it down a little bit and we can go take a camera in and follow up with people. I'm like, and that's what people needed to see instead of just like, all right, we're not doing anything until we can do everything again. Like everything may never come back around and we're all just going to pause forever.
Yeah, there were very, very few shows that came back into production, very few. And it was so particular. We had a COVID officer with us that traveled with us. We
Oh,
have an app that we'd have to take the daily test of, do you feel like you have a fever? Do you feel nauseous? Do you blah, blah, blah? Do you have aches
yeah.
and pains? Do you feel fatigued? So you go through all of that and submit it. Then you'd show up to set, they take your temperature, but this is after we've already gotten a negative COVID test.
Oh,
And
wow.
luckily, with 40 something people on set, we had no cases of anything. So it was good.
Yeah, that
It
is
was nice.
lucky.
Yeah.
But everyone's itching probably to do what they do for a living, right? It's not like not everyone could just
Yeah.
pick up and like, oh, I'll try this instead. It's like, no, that's what they do. That's their skill set.
You're right. And it was something that we've been doing for years and years, 10 years now at this point. And yet it still felt like an adventure, which was cool. You know, we took the tour bus from Montana to Wyoming, and then a tour
Oh,
bus from Wyoming to Colorado. And this tour bus is like actual rock star tour buses, you know, with the
yeah.
living rooms and the lounges and the kitchen. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like,
Like on a
when am I
cool,
ever gonna, yeah, when am I gonna have the opportunity to do this? So
that's so
I was like,
fun.
yeah, it was fun.
I've never been to, I'm trying to get all 50 states. I've never been to Montana or Wyoming. What would you say about them? I heard they're beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, sorry. I don't know
Way
why my
different.
ears are feeling extra small today. You know? Um, so Wyoming was, I've been to Wyoming before, other places like Jackson Hole, Wyoming. The area we were in was a little bland, like a little flat and dry. So that particular part of Wyoming was okay, but Wyoming in general is amazing, just
Yeah.
spectacular. Montana was beautiful, went hiking there, but the most beautiful to me of the three that we went was Colorado. We were in Breckenridge, and it was like, it looked like, you remember in the beginning of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and it's like the fake, like they kind of,
Yeah, the scenery, the
yeah, and
trees
it's
and
all these
everything.
little
Yeah.
trees. That's what it looked like.
Oh, funny.
It was so cool. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I've been to a few places in Colorado, and our older son was there because he met someone from college that lives there. And some of the pictures he's taken, it doesn't even look like it's the same country. Like
No.
this is
Where
here in
did
our
this
country.
come
Just
from?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
I do see why so many people are flocking to Colorado because I think
Yeah.
Montana and Wyoming aren't as heavily populated, right? I mean, it's beautiful, but there aren't a lot of people there.
No, not a lot, which was good. Which is good in this scenario. It was good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. And a little tip I would tell people is, if you want to save some money but travel, do a trip to Colorado off season. It's just, even if you're not a big skier,
Yeah.
the resorts that you can stay in for really short money and still walk around the town or go hiking or try out, you know, these great little places. There's a lot of outdoor bars and restaurants, you know, during the off season when it's warm. So
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good tip.
yeah.
You don't
So
want to be
I
there
mean,
when
I was
it's
telling
snowing.
my husband, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I was there for work years ago when it was snowing and I had to I got off the plane, they're like, rent a car. And I went, and they're like, do you want chains on your car? And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. They're like, well,
yeah.
where you're going, you're going to want them. I'm
Might
like, I
need
don't
them.
even know what they're going to do. What are you talking about? So,
Yeah,
and I just remember driving along the side of this mountain and like thinking, if I go, this is like before cell phones. I'm like, what happens if I just slip one little thing? There's not even rails on some
right.
of those streets. I'm like, it was beautiful, but I was like, it was not easy to relax and drive in the snow and in the mountains.
No, it's a little scary. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what are you cherishing more now? So what are you more like, okay, I'm never taking this for granted again. I think we talked a little bit about that, but or
Yeah.
what's unexpected about what you're cherishing now more?
Well, I'm cherishing the fact that, again, like just being, I've never spent this much time with my husband before, never. And that could have gone one or of two ways, right? And
Yes.
luckily it went in the right way, you know, and we realized, you know, we always used to joke around and say, oh, the secret to our long lasting marriage is that I travel all the time and we don't see each other a lot. We used to joke around all the time, but
Yeah.
the reality is, like the more time I spent with him, the more time I wanted to spend with him, the more I was like, oh my gosh, do I really want to get back on the road again? I love this. I felt like we nested, you know, like newlyweds,
Hmm.
they move into their first house and they nest. We
Hmm.
nested. I have never really nested before, you know,
Okay.
and so that was awesome. We'll never take that for granted. Interestingly too, like I have a stubborn bulldog who's sleeping over there, but he like, because I'm not always here, he pushes back when I try to walk him because he's a bulldog. He's very stubborn.
Yeah.
During quarantine, he was walking by my side, just hanging out, and like there was no like resistance, you know, and I
Yeah.
don't know, just like simple little things
I
like
don't know
that.
why. Because he got more comfortable with you being around. And he was like, okay, you're not
Yeah,
leaving
I think
maybe, or
so. I think so. I think that we connected like that. But one of the things from my work, from my design firm standpoint, which was just awesome, was how luckily I didn't have any layoffs. You know, I had to temporarily lay off my office manager because she basically books my travel.
okay,
So
okay,
you know, there wasn't much for her to do.
right.
But she's back with us now. But at the time, I was so hoping I wouldn't have to let anyone go because I have the best team. Like I really have the best team and I adore them. And I would have tried to come hell or high water, tried to figure out a way to make it work. But luckily we were busy. Like we landed a big contract right in the beginning of it all. It got put on hold for like a month. And then it was also interesting to see how we all worked remotely. It's a
Mhm.
design firm. Like we usually work together and we usually feed off of each other's energy. But because we got to work remotely, we were constantly online, constantly. And I think that what marked everybody's productivity was that everyone would do an end of day report just because we're at home. Like we can't really know what's happening. And if a client called me, I wanted to be able to have the answers of what was happening. So
Right.
that everyone would do like a quick, like short list, bullet points of what they did for the day. And it was like, I think it helped them, it helped me. And then it held everybody accountable for what was going to happen the next day or for the rest of the week. We kept up with our Monday morning meetings via Zoom. It was just, you know, for material samples that we needed for presentations, everybody would have them delivered to their own houses instead of to the office. Like it just was, and it was so incredible to see how we made it work without a hitch. Like there was never a
Yes.
moment of like, crap, like what are we going to do? How are we going to make
Mhm.
this work? And, you know, and we did presentations with our clients via Zoom. It just was, it was good. It was really good.
I'm glad to hear that, and because I felt the same way. And a lot of what I did at my last job was, well, the online training. So we were doing Zoom or webinar, WebEx or whatever go-to meeting calls anyway. So I was used to working online, showing people things online. But you know, there were so many people. It can never be done, and obviously it can be done because you can just figure it out. But I think too, women and especially are just like, all right, well, what do we need to do? Like we have to still get this done. What's another idea? Everyone on the
Right.
team has good ideas. And
We go to
everyone's like,
auto fix it mode, right?
yeah, we'll just figure it out together. And people want to keep working and people want to keep providing and contributing to things. And it's not like sitting back and saying, all right, who's going to fix this? Oh, we have to fix it. We have to fix
Yeah.
it. We have to
Yeah.
create the solution. And look what we have. We have all this awesome technology. Why not implement it? And people were definitely, some of my friends are more nervous about like, well, how are we going to do this? Just get on the phone. And it's like, you guys, there's a button here. Everyone's got a phone. They're
Yeah.
figuring out things all day long with all kinds of apps.
Right.
We can figure this out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to be around more
I,
people. Right, how are we going to,
oh,
what's the solution?
totally, Julie. I ended up telling the girls in the office, I'm like, listen to me. I'm making a mandatory get out and get fresh air time every day because we would get up in the morning, we'd sit at our computer, we'd be at our computers till 9 o'clock at night.
Oh
I don't
my
know
God.
how, but it would just happen. And no one would take their eyes off the screen and it was
Yeah.
constant talking. So I was like, please just get up for an hour, walk around your house. I don't care. Do push-ups, do
Yeah.
whatever you do, open a window, just get out. Because it was also, the weather was getting nice. It was
Yes.
spring, then summer. And so, but no one would do it. I did it. I was like, well, I'm going. You guys do
Yeah.
what you want to
Yeah.
do.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to set the example. I did the same thing from the day this started. Well, I was already doing it, but I walk every day outside, whether it's raining, snowing, whatever.
Yeah.
I just wear the right, the right clothing.
And you do
And I
it.
would there's no reason, but you're getting the vitamin D, you're getting the fresh air, you're getting a new perspective. I never leave, go on a walk and come back and like, I always come back like with a new idea or with whatever, a fresh
Right.
perspective, something. I think it's underestimated the value you get from doing that.
Totally. Especially if you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad day, that's the best time. Or if you're
Yeah.
feeling sluggish and tired and absolutely don't want to go for the walk, that's the best
That's
time to
when you
go for
need to
the walk.
go. Yeah. You just have
Yeah.
to make yourself do it. My one friend, I have a couple of friends that are teachers, and one of them is she was not all about the remote learning, and she started doing it. And she's like, she's like, Julie, I'm sitting at my kitchen table in my pajamas till same thing, 12 hours a day, working more than I've ever worked. And she was like, how are we going to get through this? And just little by little. And now that this new school year started, she's like, it's interesting. I get to see all the kids in my class in their homes. She's like, so
Yeah.
I get to see how they live. I get to see their family
Oh,
life. I get to
right.
see, like this one girl had like 8 cats or
Uh-huh.
something like that. but she's like, it's so interesting to see them as individuals instead of just like staring out to a classroom full of kids and teaching one thing. She's like, I'm really enjoying, she totally did like a 180. She's like, I'm really enjoying getting to know all of them a little bit better, but it's inadvertent. They're not in there talking about all these things. She just sees stuff in the background. Oh, is that a whatever collection? Yeah, we have goldfish or whatever it is, So she's like connecting with them at a level they're in junior high. So they're already with that little awkward, connecting and stuff.
Yeah.
Really nice. I'm like, well, so it was nice to see her open up to the possibility of it and figure out how it's going to work for them and her.
Right.
And, so I've enjoyed seeing people just learn the lessons and figure things out and not be so like structured. It has to be a certain way for me to either be successful or have a life or do this or do that. It's like, we don't have any excuses. We have all the technology we need.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. But I actually love that story about the teacher because I think it can help her also teach in different ways, knowing what she's knowing now just from getting a little sneak peek into their lives. And maybe there's a better way to approach them, it's pretty interesting.
For sure. Right? Yeah. I should interview her for this too, because there's, I'm sure she's thinking of other ways to connect with them or maybe she was annoyed by a kid and then she sees the kind of life they're living. She's like, oh,
right.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's been an eye opener for a lot of people and we're never going to have the same lessons we've had this year because all of the other things that have happened, whether it's financial or the market or stuff like that. It's like what I was saying to my son the other day, I'm like, everyone's in the same boat across the entire world. That usually doesn't happen. Usually it's like this country's hurting over here. This one's at war. This one's having a financial crisis. This one's, with the economy, whatever it is. But now it's like, we're all in the same boat.
We're all experiencing the same things. My husband would say that a bunch of times every time he'd like see on the news or like he's always scrolling through Twitter or whatever. And he sees like this restaurant closed in Germany and all these restaurants closed and in Italy and Spain. And it's crazy to connect on that level internationally. And it's wild. I don't know. I mean, let's talk about good things that came out of COVID. Right?
Exactly.
The good thing is that suddenly everybody kind of connected in the world in a different way, and then I felt like things were really just getting out of control in terms of the pace of everything. Life was just going so fast. And I also felt like, it sound a little weird, but in interviewing people and wanting to hire people, I felt like there was a level of expectation that was just an expectation from the employee of their employer, like things that they would expect from their employer that was just unattainable. And it was getting out of control. And I think that this kind of put the brakes on a minute for people to have a hard reality check to be like, okay, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm being like real.
No, I do. I do know what you're saying. I've even got more of that just being my own boss now and not having to rely on anyone else. It's like I have a new found appreciation for people that run their own businesses, the people that employ people. Even if it's not your own business, you're a manager and you have to manage all these people and expectations and their personal lives and goals and all that other stuff. It's like there's a lot that goes into managing people. I knew I never wanted to be a manager for that very reason, just because it just seemed too overwhelming. But this especially is like, oh, it's not so easy. And if you have your own business, having to worry about all these things, it's not so easy and then the people that just come in and want the paycheck and do the bare minimum. And I think everyone's got that new perspective.
I think there's more of a hunger now to do things. And also not just that, I think that a lot of people, because they had a breather to think about what they really want, because it was almost like a restart button. So are you going to go back to the job that you hated? Or is it time now to do what you always wanted to do and take that step? You've always wanted to write your book and you had a minute and a moment to work on it and focus on it, which maybe you would not have had that opportunity before because life was so hectic and crazy, or who knows,
Yeah, you're right. If you can't do it in this, if you can't make what you want to have happen with all of these extra blocks of time and slowing down, do you really want it bad enough? Because it's not about the time anymore. You have the time and you have the space. If you don't want to create it, you don't want to create it, but this is the time to do it if you're going to do it, which is what my 18-year-old said. He's like, if anyone's looking for a reason to go after what they want or a sign to go after what they want, let 2020 be your sign.
Yes,
know
exactly.
right around the corner. If you wait too long, you might not be able to do it. Like the traveling, we traveled right before. I don't know if I told you when we got on the phone in March, but we had gone to Puerto Rico at the end of February. My husband and and me to visit some friends that just moved there in January. And I woke up one day in January and I said, I thought we were going to go to Italy in the fall. Like right now, I thought we'd be in Italy.
Oh, we were too. That's so
Really?
funny. Yeah.
We have this at my old job. We had this conference every year, and it was in Paris. I'm like, I'll go there for Paris to train, and then you'll meet me, and we'll go to Italy. We've been married almost 25 years. We've always wanted to go to Italy. Let's go. He's like, okay. And then in January, in the middle of January, right before his birthday, I woke up and I'm like, we're not going to Italy. I just had this very clear.
Really?
We are not going. It's not going to happen. I know.
Why?
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I just had this like. And my husband was turning 50, so I just turned 50 in September. He was turning 50 in January. And I was thinking this will be like a birthday present and anniversary present. And I woke up, his birthday is January 19th. And I woke up like the 10th and I'm like, we're not going to Italy. Let's go to Puerto Rico and see our friends.
Crazy.
And
wow.
and normally we don't travel in the spring because usually our kids, when they were in school, they were always baseball and soccer. Like we never could go on spring break anywhere because they always had other commitments. And so we never went. I'm like, we can go in February or March because we don't have to worry about them. Let's go see our friends in Puerto Rico.
Do you think it's because all COVID was going wild in other parts of the world at the time and you were hearing about that and thinking perhaps?
No, I don't even watch I don't watch the news. I don't ever watch the news.
Really?
I never read newspaper articles about anything. Like I just, my husband will come home and say, he comes home and gives me the news update. And if it's not positive, I'm like, if we're not.
Don't tell me, I don't want to know.
I don't want to ruin my good mojo. So I just had a feeling and I booked that trip and I also was going to book it in March. I'm like, it's really expensive to go there in March. I'm like, let's go the last week of February. So I surprised my husband. I didn't tell him. I called my friends in Puerto Rico and said, when can we come? And they're like, the last week of February is perfect. So I booked everything, had all these points I didn't even know I had, booked this trip with went to see our son in Florida on the way to Puerto Rico. It was an awesome, like 7-day thing. I surprised my husband with it. And he's like, I'm like, we're going to Puerto Rico in February. He's like, what's going on? That was when we got home from Puerto Rico, we think we were even sick before we went to Puerto Rico because I wasn't feeling good. Neither was my son. We probably had it. No one knew what it was yet.
No, right.
When we got home to Puerto Rico and then all this happened, I'm like, thank goodness.
It was like your last hurrah.
We never would have gone to see them in Puerto Rico. And they were there this whole year for 6 months. And that would have been it. And we were the only people that went to visit them because everyone else was planning to go in March and April and May.
Oh my God.
First and last visitors. I know.
What part of Puerto Rico did you go to?
So they're in San Juan.
Okay.
Into Puerto Rico?
We got married in Puerto Rico.
You did? Where?
We did in this place called Isabela, which is about 2 hours west.
West. Is it on the West Coast? Because I heard the West Coast. Okay. Yes, they've been to the West Coast too. They say it's like that's where everyone has their like summer homes or their nice whatever.
Yeah.
They said it's awesome.
It was awesome. Like I'll tell you what, I would never do it any other way. Like it was perfect. And we still had 110 people show up to our wedding, but I'm Indian. So as in comparison to like a 2,000 person wedding, which is typical of an Indian wedding. So 110 was small.
How long have you been married?
So we've been together. We got married in 2007, but we were together for 6 years prior to that. Okay. So I think we're on like what, 18, 19.
Okay. Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Have you been back to Puerto Rico since your wedding?
No. And we loved it so much. We're like, oh, we can't wait to come back here. We're going to go back. And then the hurricane happened. And oh my gosh, I don't know why my earplugs keep falling out. No.
It's so I would recommend. So I'd never been. No, we stopped there on our way on our honeymoon. We just were in the airport 20 some years ago. But our friends, we were in Old San Juan, and they lived just like 10 minutes from there. It was just the people. We want to move there, so we're like debating if we're going to move to Florida, Puerto Rico. We're like, it was the people there were so awesome. The food was awesome. We loved the energy there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where do you live now?
Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago. I love Chicago.
Yeah, let me just show you my beautiful view from my condo. I don't know if you can see.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're in a neighborhood called River North, and it's this is the condo we're renting. So we figure out what we're doing next. We sold our house in one day over the summer, like at the end of July. Just like, let's just see.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's happening. Are you in
Boston?
You're in Boston, right? I don't know if it's like that on the East Coast, but here in Chicago, like things are selling in the suburbs like crazy because everyone's moving
Like
out of the city.
crazy. Yep. Yep.
Is that
My
happening in
parents
Boston?
actually, it is. My parents
Okay.
just sold their house and they sold it within the first week that it was listed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. So
was my
we
childhood home too, which was the
I
house
know.
I grew up in 45 years.
Oh, it's the same as with us. My kids are like, "What do you mean?" We're like, "Well, you're leaving. Well, the one lives in Florida. Like, you don't live here anymore,
We're
and
like, what?
we don't need this house. You know, we don't need the aggravation." And we just wanted to see if we could sell it. So we did. We sold it in a day, and now we're like, "All right, so this is our temporary home.
Nice. Not a
Love it.
bad setup, huh?
We love it." My husband's like, "I am in heaven." Like, we walk outside. What do you want to have to eat? There's a Whole Foods a block away. Like, you can just go get your things, and if you forgot an ingredient, you just walk downstairs and it's
You know what's
unbelievable.
so funny is that so my husband and I, since we've been married, we've been from one condo to this. So this is a condo that I'm in right now, and we love it here. Like outside our windows, it's a beautiful river. It's just
Oh,
spectacular, and like the daily management of life is easy because we're in a condo, right? Like I
yeah.
have a garage I can park my car in, and
That's what
somebody's
we were.
dealing with
Yes.
shoveling, right?
Yes.
It's amazing. But I'm also in the point of my life where I said to him, I'm like, are we really going to live our entire lives and never be in a house? I was
Yeah.
like, I kind of want to experience having a deck out back and like
Yeah.
having yard space.
Nice.
And I'm sure it'll get old quick. I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, that was a big mistake. But I keep saying, like, I kind of just want to do a little house hunting and see what we can find. And he's like, all right, well,
Do it. You
like,
never know. I would say just do it and rent. You don't have to buy anything. Just rent a house for 6 months or a year and see it if you really love it. And if you love it, you
yeah,
can buy something.
that's good advice. That's great advice.
Right?
And I wouldn't get rid of this place. Like we love this place. We're going to
Yeah.
retire in this place. So yeah,
Yeah. So
that's
do
great
that.
advice.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we did. I said to my husband, I mean, what if we get down to the city and we thought we were going to love it and we hate it? Now we have this thing we own. Like, let's rent, see if we love it. And if we love it, we can stay, we can buy something. We
So
don't,
brilliant. Yeah,
right?
that's great. Really
Yeah.
great advice.
So you can always try it and then you're not stuck with it forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that.
At least you can
Yeah.
say you got it out of your system too. Because I think what will happen is, well, just like anything, just having those extra, no one can ever, there's a big list of all the extra things when you're living in a house. Shoveling is one of them, obviously. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of those other
Gardening,
things.
shoveling.
Yeah. I mean, you have a yard for your dog, which is nice, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. But the good news is you have choices. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I love that advice. I'll start
yeah.
looking into that.
Right. And the nice thing too, I don't know what's like this in Boston, but everyone's renting everything in the city. And there's a lot of places for rent because people can't sell things because either they're selling super fast in the suburbs and in the city they're not. So it's a good time you have
Yeah.
choices. Nice. Yeah. Well, it's been so nice catching up with you
I
and
know. I
hearing
know.
about
So nice.
your several months
Yeah,
of
thank you. I know.
organizing.
I feel again back to the guilt thing again. I feel guilty when I say how great it's been being on this like moment here. But you know what? I think that it's all in your attitude and your perspective on things. And there's always the person that's going to focus on all the negative parts. And believe me, we have our negatives. My
Yeah,
husband had to close down one of our restaurants. Like I haven't been like if I want to really focus on
of
the
course.
negatives, they're there,
Right.
but I'm just not that person. So I'm only going to sit here and I'm going to focus on all the wonderful things that came out of it. And thankfully, luckily, everyone in my family has been healthy, and I feel so bad for people that have been going through financial losses or
Yes.
losses in their family, all of that. But I'm blessed enough to say that I have not had experienced that, and so I'm grateful. And we give back. We would during the thick of the pandemic, my husband was donating 100 meals every week to the hospital for the care
Oh,
workers, the
oh
caretakers, and
yeah.
yeah, we were doing that every week. And it's so we don't take things for granted, and I think we live in the present. We try to, it's what I was saying on my post, and
Mhm.
exactly what I was saying on my post, just kind of focus on good things when you can.
And that's really the only way that you can come up with solutions. When you're focusing on the negative things, you're not the ways you can solve the problem aren't popping into your head when
Yeah.
when
Right.
you're depressed or
Right.
yeah, this sucks or whatever. It's like the
And we all
solution.
have our moments, right?
Of
Like we're all
course. Of
entitled to those
course.
days. So it's not to
Of
say you
course.
can't have it, but
No.
don't let it suck you down that hole.
Yeah. And you're never going to feel better thinking that way. You'll feel better thinking, okay, what else? What can I do about it? What can I control? What can I change? What do I have power over? What don't I? Yeah, it's big lessons. And you're never going to feel better just thinking about all the things that aren't going well.
Right.
So,
Julia, before I forget, I'm going to need pointers from you on starting my own podcast now. It's called Thank You for Your Hospitality.
oh, I
And
love it.
yeah, and the whole thing is that my whole life revolves around hospitality. I'm a restaurant designer. My husband owns a restaurant. We love to entertain. Like it's just our life. And I was having a conversation with my sister one day, and my sister's in biotech, but she's on the business side of it. And she organizes these seminars and meetings when she does all different things, wears a bunch of different hats. But she was saying that she was looking for speakers to speak to her salespeople. And I had suggested that I had met with this food and beverage director, this guy that used to work for the Tao Group in Las Vegas. And it was so fascinating to me, the things that he learned in the food industry that could apply to anybody's
Right.
career and their lives, and how to have that sort of leadership and organization and still have that hospitable attitude, how to get people to work happily under stressful circumstances. And I was just like, geez, there's so many interesting people out there that are in this industry that can lend some really helpful information to people who aren't in the industry and are in the industry.
Of course.
So I had a great
Universal
interview
lessons.
with Robert. Yeah. It hasn't launched yet. So, we're getting there, but I did an interview with Mark Summers from Double Dare, from a Food Network, and then also with Robert and his wife, Gail, and they were fun. So those were my first couple of them, but you have any pointers for me?
So I would say, don't wait for everything to be perfect and just get on the phone, be yourself, get on the call and be yourself. I mean, I don't even have a fancy microphone. I just have it. This is my laptop. I'm going to get a nicer microphone. My husband's like, you should get a nicer microphone. But it's really just being yourself. And what do you want? What's your intention of the podcast? And at the end of the day, what do you want people to feel when they get done listening to it? And as long as you're clear on that, there really is not that I did it all on my own. I didn't have anyone help me set anything up. It's basically like you get the graphics and you really can teach it to yourself, but you probably already have people that can, in the business you're in, that can say, oh, you need this, this, and this. And I can give you a list of the things you need, but it's not complicated. If you can run Zoom and hit record, you get off the phone, it renders, and then you just have to have somebody put that into software that can go on YouTube and go on Apple Podcasts and stuff. So it's really pretty easy. I've done 50, so you'll be my 50th podcast.
Wow, can you believe that?
I started a year ago, and I'm like, every week I'm going to do, every single week I will do one, come hell or high water, and I have, and every single week I'm going to write a letter in my blog. So I just committed to doing it. And I'm like, I'm not going to let anything get in the way. And I would say also be consistent. So if you want to do it and you have 2 interviews, and are you going to do it every other week or every week? But if you already have a following,
set a schedule.
I would just say set a schedule. And then also big thing I learned from entrepreneurs is to block your time. Like do it on the same day every week, so you can be prepared and have what you need, instead of like someone wants to do it on Monday and then Friday, then you're doing one on Wednesday. You're like, so now you have 3 different days of the week that you have to look a certain way or have setups or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's called batching. You just do a bunch at a time.
Batching. Yes. All right.
And then you can have like 3 in a row, and then you have them for 3 weeks, and you have to think about it again for a month.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your advice.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
There's construction going on next door, so
I can't even hear it.
Oh, okay.
I have sirens and all kinds of things going out on outside too. It's amazing how noisy it can be. That's another thing.
Yeah. Well, keep us posted on your book, and thank you for having me. It was great chatting.
Thanks for being here, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, can't wait to hear your podcast.
Yes, well, working on it.
All right, but keep with your theme of doing less, because concentrating on less is and really ends up being more anyways.
I want to, but it's already picking back up. Everything's getting crazy now. I'm leaving in 2 weeks to film Christmas Light Fight, and that's going to be
that's your thing every year, right?
Yeah. So 6 weeks on the road, but this time I'm not allowed to come home because of COVID, so they don't want to risk too much travel. So that's going to be interesting because I've never, with all the travel I do, I've never leave for weeks on end.
Right.
So it'll be a little interesting.
It's going to be weird with your husband because you spent all this time together and then you're not going to be together. It's going to be tough, but you'll learn some other new, better lessons too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay. Well, thanks, Taniya. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.